Hello everyone, welcome to my channel Automate with Piyush. Today in this video, I am going to show you how you can create your own custom activity that can interact with UiPath Orchestrator. So by default, like it's a free service provided by Orchestrator on UiPath that they have multiple APIs available which you can utilize to interact with all the components of your orchestrator. So to first find out what are all those APIs that have been provided, what you can do, open your orchestrator, and then after your orchestrator URL, just like enter swagger slash index.html. This link will give you all the Swagger APIs that have been provided by UiPath and which you can use. So let me just open it. So over here you can see there are multiple APIs for each of the actions. Like for example, if we take about folders. So in folder section we have got all these APIs which we can use to interact with the orchestrator. So now let's see how to use them and build our own custom activities for these. So before using any of these APIs, we will need to authenticate the user that this API which is calling this our orchestrator is valid and has our authorization. Okay, so for that I am going to open cloud.uipath and let's go jump to the Visual Studio 2022. Now, when we are creating our custom activities, we need to add certain references. You might have by now learned them from my all previous videos around creating our custom activities. So let's just search. First is system.activities. Then we would need system.component model.composition. And in this, since we are working with APIs, so we also need system.net.http and click on OK. So we have added our requirements. Now I will just use them over here as well using system.activities, using system.component model and using system.net. Okay, we are done with the calling the required libraries. Now let's create our first class. So over here the namespace I have given orchestrator API and the class name or the activity name would be Authenticate. I will invoke the code activity inherit over here. Now first of all, what we would need to authenticate the user, we need the client ID and the user key. So let's write the code to fetch that. So that would be required argument, category is input, then adds a display name. So let's say the display name would be user key. Then we can add a description for this, like please enter your user key from Orchestrator services. I will at the end I will show how from where you can get this user key as well. And let's just create a public string variable that is a public in argument of type string, and I will name it user key, and then our usual get and set methods. So we are done with first argument. Then similarly I can just reuse this for another one. Now next one is client ID that we would need. So I will just write that. And over here again client ID. Okay, that is also done. Now we need to write the actual method which we will be using or which gets execute for the code. So that is protected override void execute code activity. Now let's remove this, and first of all we need to fetch the user key and client ID from the user. So let's create two variables, string id equal client id dot get method, and similarly string, let's call it token, and that would be user key dot get context. Okay, there is one thing left at the top. We have taken the two input arguments, but we also need to provide back the final access token that the user, this API will be giving back. So let's create one for that. This one, the category would be output, display name would be authenticate response, for this as well I will just write authenticate response, and this would be an out argument. Let's call it authenticate response. Okay, this would be a JSON response that this API will give back. Now next what we need is let's work on our API details. First of all, the result that the bot is going to make, that is say authenticate response, let's set it to null. Then string, we will need the API URL, so that is fixed. So from where we can get that is let's see, I guess it should be over here. I click on authorize, okay, it's not given over here, so I will just write it down. It should be https account.uipath.com/oauth and token. This will be our API URL. Now let's create our post data. So to authenticate, what you need to enter is string dot format. You need to provide the grant type, that would be like this, grant underscore type, which will be with value refresh token. And next what we need is client ID. So here the ID that you are fetching from the user, that will come, and then finally we need the refresh token. And now here I will pass the ID and token value and close this. So now I hope the errors would have removed. Yep, so there are no errors, but there are two warnings that we have not used this data anywhere. So let's move forward and create our web request. We are set with the input data. So now we just need to create a web request object equals to web request dot create, and here it will, what will come, the API URL. Now this is a get request, a post request. Let's check. Since we are sending some data to the object, so this, the method would be post. Then in this we need to add the content type, so that would be request object dot content type equals to application JSON. For that, again tab. Finally, we need to send the header, like for which tenant we are calling this API. So for that, we can add headers, and over here what will come is x hyphen UiPath hyphen tenant name. And like for me, let me check out what's the tenant name. So if I go to home, then more admin, in this I will click on this tenants services, and in the orchestrator I can go to API access. So one thing what I can do, I can get this tenant name also from the user itself, so that will make it more generic. So let's just copy our input, and what we will do, okay, this I have copied incorrectly. Input, this is our tenant name, and so we'll fetch this over here. String tenant name equal tenant name dot get context. Now while client ID does not exist, okay, what we have given this is user key, this is tenant name, client ID. Let me check this. So this is user key, this is client ID, and this is the tenant name. So over here it should have come client ID only. Now I've got the tenant name, so that I can pass over here tenant name. So I was saying, from where you can get this, once you get reach to this API access, over here your client ID, tenant name, your user key, all three are given. Okay, just for the, after this video I will definitely click on this remove access, so please don't try to copy this, and you can use your own credentials. Then now let's complete the API request. So for that, using var string writer, okay, it's not giving the equals to new string writer, then add request object dot get request string, I guess there is some error. There's a variable issues like a type. Writer. If it is correct. Okay, yeah, I forgot. This is the stream writer. Type. So this is the variable and this is the type. Stream writer could not be found. Maybe so it's like an issue with the class, maybe namespace. So let's check it out. We should, I guess, okay, we have forgot to use using system.io. That has resolved the issue. Okay, moving back. Here we will write stream writer dot write our post data, then stream writer dot flush and stream writer dot close, and we are done with sending the response. Now let's fetch the whatever the API is giving us. So var HTTP response. This is a variable that we are creating, and here it would come our request object dot get response, and let's parse it. So using var. Okay, here a variable is required. So our stream reader equals new stream reader our HTTP response object dot get response string. And finally, let's save it. Our variable name was authenticate response. So I will just write over here authenticate response equals stream reader dot read to end. Okay, so we have completed writing our code. This authenticate response will give the output that we need, so we can just send it back to the user. So for that, what we need is authenticate response dot set context comma. What I can do instead of this, that would be a little bit confusing, so let's give this a little bit different name. Let's say I call it API result, and here also I can give this API result, and finally over here I will also give the same, and this dot set. It's saying authenticate response does not have a set function. Let me try this. Okay, that's done. So we have completed our code to fetch the authenticate response from the API. Here we can see there are no issues found. So let's go to build solution. I have got the DLL file, so just copy this and go to the Nugget Package Explorer. Now from here everyone knows what are the steps that we always follow. Create an add lib folder, then add existing file and open. Then here we can give some ID to it. Let's say I will call it Orchestrator API false, or just orchestrator underscore API would be fine. Save, and then save as. Let me just save it in one of my favorite folders. So C, program data, UiPath, personal components, save. So we have done with creating a NuGet package. Now finally time to test it out. So here open main workflow, and now we are going to add a NuGet package. If you are unaware of the steps that you are following after creating the code, you can please watch out my previous videos about creating your own custom activities. Now in this downloaded components, and the activity name that we have created is Orchestrator API. Okay, now let's find out. If I go scroll down in the activities panel, here I can see an Orchestrator API package. This Orchestrator API would be same as this namespace that I have given over here. And here we have the Authenticate activity, which is same as the class name that we have provided. Now let's drag this one. So it is, let's check, it is asking me for a client ID. So let's get it. Client ID is this one. I can pass it over here. Then we need the tenant name. So it will be this. And then user key. And now it is giving an authenticate response. So let's say I will create a variable for that and use a message box. Now debug it. Okay, it says the remote server returned an 400 byte request. Means there is some issue in the code. Let's once check it out. This setup seems proper. So I will, let's check the body of it if there is some issue in that. So we have got string.format, grant underscore type. Here we are adding a plus sign that is not required. Then we have got a refresh token, then a client ID, and then refresh token again. Yep. So I guess that plus sign was the issue for this. So I will just rebuild this code and again put it over here. Add existing file, open, and now let's just change the version to 1.0.1 and save as. Now I can go to Studio and update the package. and copy it. Okay, the bot has executed the Authenticate API and has given us the response. So over here, the first access token that we have got in this particular response is the required token, which we can use to call any of the other APIs. Okay, which we will be able to parse using our deserialized JSON object activities. So that's all guys for this video. Do like, share and subscribe to my channel, and in the upcoming video, in the next one, I will share how we can use this access token to call other APIs. See you in the next video guys. Bye.